we'll be waiting to hear how Rivers money has been spent in the past 1 year. Meanwhile, the deputy governor advised youths in the state, this was yesterday, to take advantage of youth empowerment centers, which is one of the programs that the government is looking to put in place for youths in the state. Now, she was advising that youths all over take advantage of this to be self-sufficient. This was while she was flagging off the resource center on behalf of the governor. It's a youth resource center. Now, cast your mind back to sometime last week when I had spoken with the commissioner for youth development, and he mentioned this and talked about how these centers is going to be something that will be found across local government in the state, and talked about how some local governments though had not been very cooperative. But regardless, let's focus on the good parts, which is something that the deputy governor said. The center will have the capacity to teach, train, and engage young people. Now, it's an amazing thing to look at how, skill acquisitions and the rest worked and how it empowers youth. But it seemed to be the direction most times the government takes. Well, before we find out why and look into the details, and before I even go on to introduce my guest, I'd like you to listen to the Deputy Governor of Rivers State, Professor Ngozi Odu, what she had to say about the Youth Resource Center.
If you acquire that skill, you can put in your best and you get the best out of it. So please, as you come into this center, actually there's a multifaceted approach. They'll teach you, they'll screen you to know what you're best suited for. And thereafter, they'll give you the capacity. They will equip you with the right processes and link you up. They talk about networking. That's why I'm really excited about the TTE, teach, train, and engage. Because that was where the gap existed. When it was TTD, teach, train, and dump, there was a gap.
Right, it was TTD, but now it will be TTE. She says teach, train, and engage, and not dump. And for many people, we teach, we train, but then do we provide the engagement? I would remember even in Bayelsa State, if you go back to the amnesty program, then many people say, "Oh, you took us," because some of the agitators that I had spoken with and some that I knew would tell you, "Okay, they've taken us now. They don't train us. We don't come back. Where we go work." Some people would say that would be asking for too much. If you've already been taught this, it should be the rest should be your decision to figure out how to use the skill that you've acquired. Well, in this case, the deputy governor you heard there saying, well, teach, train, and engage. Well, this morning I would be speaking with Nwosu, the spokesperson for the United Community Development Committee, Rivers State. He should be joining me on the show this morning. But before we get to hear from him, the question we're asking is to know what you think, your perception of these youth empowerment centers that have been flagged off by the government. Now, one important thing to note was a comment that was made by the Commissioner for Youth Development, where he says some of the local governments and the councils were not cooperative. They've not been able to meet with the council chairman to discuss this because it was going to require 60 youths from every ward to participate in this. And with the, should I call it an impasse now, of the fragmented relationship that we have between the councils and the executive arm of government in the state, one would wonder how this implementation would work. Well, even though there are those who say the tenures of this council chairman already is coming to an end, they're definitely going to leave office, and then the governor would perhaps then have a leeway to, put these things in place and work with whoever would be elected next by the people. Well, that said, the role of the CDCs, the Community Development Committees, the chairman there, is also another important thing to look at. We are going to look at how the government intends to translate this plan to youths in the grassroots, because we know that the CDC, the youth leaders in communities, all have some form of engagement with youths. And there's also the fear that, well, we see some political paintings in all of this, which would mean the selection of the 60 youths from the ward, because each ward has more than youths. How do we arrive at picking the 60 that best suit the program or qualified to engage, to be trained, to be taught, and to be engaged? Right, let's start off first by getting your thoughts about this. This one, 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007. That's where we start. Let's first get your perception about it. What's your view? Skill acquisition has always been, will always be. Now, another thing we sought to find out in my conversation with the Commissioner for Youth Empowerment Development, even though we did not get adequate response to that question, was we had a skill acquisition training center in Rivers State. I can't remember where, but I know that we have that. What would happen to that center? Is it going to be functional? What would be different about this if we are going to be teaching people different skills in different areas and trying to, because he was saying those that are would be drafted into this the world of sports would be taught, like physical combat and etc. How much development and investment have we done in these areas, whether it's ICT, whether it's sports, whether it's agriculture, whether it's commerce and industry, whether it's tech, whether it's entertainment, whether it's fashion? How much structure do we have on ground? How much investment have we made to accommodate the youths that we want to train in any of these areas so that they have somewhere to engage in when they finish from these centers? 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. Hopefully, when my guest joins us, we get to hear all of that from him. Joseph is on the line. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning, Ifemi Andrew.
All right, you're welcome. Go on.
I want to applaud the governor for this initiative and to advise that they should go beyond the training of the youth. He should ensure that every youth that is trained is profiled into River State database, in that after the training, he should provide palliative financial support to them that cannot be employed by government. And then some of them that had training already, that had skills already, should also be invited. They should undergo tests. They that lack the requisite training should be retrained, and also the funds should be raised to empower them. And if you want to be re-elected in 2027, the youth has the might. I don't want to believe that what the former governor Peter Odili said is the right thing, that his project will speak for him. He should also consider them in the area of, let's say, appointment. Like the former governor of Cross River State, Ben Ayade, appointed over 10,000 youth into his cabinet. He should make sure that all the wards in the state should produce at least some youth to be appointed into his cabinet. This will help him to win election in 2027. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I like the end part of what you said. Youths in government, young people, not there, because now these days there are old youths, if I would use that language, old youths, but we're talking young people in government. Can we see that young people get appointments into the government? Ken Ubimini from Ubimini, I beg your pardon. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, Ifemi Andrew.
All right, go on.
Yes, I can call it from Ubimini. Ifemi, I want to let us know that this is the right time the Commissioner for Youth Development should now step up of his step in order to make sure that every youth in River State would be engaged in one thing or the other. Because if you ask me, I've never seen or hear when the Commissioner for Youth had introduced or let people know what the youth are meant for. So this is the avenue. Here is where the ministry now should be focused, because youth are the top politicians in the country as far as grassroots politics is concerned. Not the politicians to remember the youth during the electionary period. Then after all said and done, they will dump them and start focusing on their Abuja trips. So this is the particular time and where we should be trying to at least, let me say, where we should be rating or examining what the Commissioner for Youth is doing in River State. He should know that if he has been sleeping, this time around, he should not be sleeping. Thank you very much.
Ken. Charles from Bonny Island, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, to get the youth, I think what former Delta State Governor did is the best thing for the youth. He built industrial schools and employed quality teachers. To impact skills in these children will help us a lot. In my community in Bonny here, you see so many children. The only skill they have is dreadlock. Again, moving around. Good 18, the local government chairperson renovates the only industrial school we have. But it's locked up. And the industrial class is just about three rooms class. We need industrial schools in all the local governments, where these children, either in secondary school from SS1 or once they pass out, they can now enroll into these industrial schools. There they can learn all sorts of crafts. Even the ICT, it can also be introduced to that place. That will really help us a lot. And also, we need agriculture in River State. It will help the youth. The 4 Ogoni local governments have fertile land. The HA houses have fertile land. The government should find it needed to buy those tractors for mechanized agriculture. Employ youth into that. That will help the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. A commercial is upon us. We'll go for it and then return to continue with the conversation at the time. Hopefully my guest joins us in the studio and respond to some of the questions that we have to ask. Stay tuned.
The great
And yes, my guest joins us in the studio this morning. Is the spokesperson for the United Community Development Committee, Rivers State, Mr. Harrison Nwosu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. And I think you owe us an apology, though, because you are very late.
Yes, true apology, please. Good morning, our listeners, and good morning, Efemi.
Right, because we don't have a lot of time, we'll try as much as possible to keep it simple. So would encourage that you make your responses very short and straight to the point. My very first question would have to be with regards to we saw the flag off of the youth development, the empowerment centers, training centers yesterday, and Deputy Governor gave a very fantastic speech and talked about how youth need to tap into it, and this resource centers was going to not just teach and train, but also seek to engage. Now, the Commissioner for Youth Development, in my conversation with him, has said, well, the idea would be to get 60 youths from the wards in the various communities across the state and see how from there we can, go forward. In your own perspective, what's your view of this? Because it will not be the first time we're hearing about skill training and acquisitions. We have the amnesty program, which is like the biggest of all, even though that was targeted at a certain group of people. But I mean, it's same mode of operation, train, and then they're supposed to, get the engagement. Now, for many people, most of the times we have the skill acquisitions, the youth engage, but they train, but then they don't get the engagement that they seek. What's your view of this one?
Yeah, I think in the first place I have to thank and congratulate the governor for such wonderful initiative. Though it has been in place, but implementation has been an issue in past governments. And if you look at this, it is a bit away from the former way that former governments has been doing it. You see the engagement aspect of it, because many of these youth centers has been there. They will go there, train them, and abandon them, and they go back to their old ways. But at this time, the governor said they are going to be engaged, and that is the most important thing. So, the most challenges the youths have these days is the certificate thing. When you go to school, you study, you earn your certificate, you come back. There is no craft, there's no skill. You keep waiting for white-collar job. At the end of the day, you may not get it. At times, you see these young ones end up into the crime section of life, and that's ruined their entire life. So I think the government wants to see how they can holistically harness the youths and put them in the right perspective by engaging them after this training. So it's a laudable project.
Is it safe to say that we can liken this to what we have with our education institutions, where people go to school at come out and then they don't have a place to work? Now, saying this is to prove to look into the various sectors we have available. In your perspective, do you think that we have the industry in Rivers State where these young people, when they are trained in whichever sector they are trained, can come out and get the engagement that they seek? Because when you look at Rivers State's economy, it's largely oil. And I don't know if you've heard, some people jokingly making a joke now would say, we've never seen oil companies put out memo when they're employing people, or make announcement adverts on radio that we are employing, or we want these services, or can you do this? We don't hear it or see it. So, okay, let's technically say that is almost on the side. The other thing is politics in Rivers State. Now, if you take that away, you might have some small businesses, schools, and some other small businesses in the state. But then, if people then are trained, for instance, in ICT and other, do we have enough of these investment companies, industries in the state where it makes it now easy for these people to be engaged?
You don't need industries, you don't need these companies to engage these ones. The reason for this training is for you to be an industry yourself. Train you, empower you, and engage you. Engagement must not be that you must be engaged in a company.
So what would be engagement for you?
Yes, the government can create a starter pack. You
but
understand?
Isn't that what previous administrations have always done?
Yes.
Create starter packs, and then we still do not get the desired result.
The challenges in this formal administrations are, these challenges are, you train someone, let's assume, you train someone in welding and all the rest, and welding, and you see at the end of it, that person will be given 20,000 naira, 50,000 naira as a starter pack, or at times they will buy out of the 20 equipment needed for you to start, they will just buy one and give you. and go to television and televise it, and you have been empowered to go into the field you are trained. And at the end, you see that person will go along the road and sell it off because he can't start anywhere. There's no place you can start. So, but what this intend to do is to really train you and give you all the necessary empowerment you need, all the necessary starter pack you need for that particular profession you are being trained. Right. So with that, you don't need to look for any company to engage yourself. You start creating new things, and you become a company yourself. So that's what this project.
I had a conversation with the Commissioner for Youth Development, and I hope to have another conversation with him because there's still plenty of questions to ask with regards to this. But some of the things he said was various areas where we're going to see this happen, and it's going to be a process where they try to identify what area they think a youth or a particular individual fits in, and then direct you to that area, and then begin to train you in that area, and then engage you. So if, for instance, if sports, okay, we have facilities in the stadiums we have where you could go train to be a boxer and all of that. If it's ICT, now that's a question. If it's fashion or entertainment, that's another question. Do we have investment in these areas? If it's tech, do we have investment in these areas? If someone goes to learn a skill to be a broadcaster, you need to practice in a radio station. If we don't have radio stations, where would you practice then? How would you be engaged? Somebody can come and give you license to go and own a radio station or say, oh, buy mic and buy this and start that. So the point is, after all of this, now, even at the local level, where it was rightly said that we're even having issues with getting some council chairmen to buy into the idea, that was according to the commissioner. Where does this now leave the CDCs? Because we know that the tenures of some council chairmen already, not all of them, would be their tenures would be winding down in just a couple of weeks' time. Yeah. What role do you think the CDC will play in ensuring that this works in the rural areas?
Yeah, thank you. The CDC, like we all know, a tier of the government. We propagate the government plans, development activities, and make sure that our people are part of it. So what we do is with the avenue of our community meetings and all the rest, to inform the people, the youth especially, that this program is going on. There is need for you to be engaged. And we're looking also forward to have more engagement with the Commissioner for regards to this program, to see how we can disseminate this information properly and make sure that our people are fully engaged. And to that aspect of the chairman, that has been what we are complaining as stakeholders in communities who have seen this lackadaisical attitude. In fact, worst of it this time around. We are local government chairmen are concentrated in building lodges for DSS. You call someone to come and commission lodge for DSS. You call someone to come and commission corpus lodge where there is no desk in primary schools where the pupils will learn. There is nothing in there, no teacher, nothing, no chalk. You don't assist in building the school, but you want to build a building that would be seen in the entire world, that you are building a lodge for copper, you are building a lodge for DSS, you are building a lodge for, things that are not necessary. Why the youth are there wallowing in abject poverty in the communities. They put less concern about them. I've never seen such worst within this group of local government chairmen that tenure is just ending in a few days' time. It became worse to the point that their concentration is to see the wrong government ground, how to make sure that the development is taken to mockery.
But your tenures will be your tenures will be winding down. Same with the council chairman, isn't it? When the council chairman leaves, technically, the CDC chairman, they continue. That's not. But because remember last time we discussed about the formation of a CDC chairman. Yeah. So doesn't a council chairman that comes in has I want this or that person? No. The tenure of CDC chairmen are dependent on the village and communities. So a community might be electing their own today. The other community might be electing their own next year, next month, as this. So it has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the tenure of local government chairman. So they are there as a community development, community development aspect of the government. So, but we have over time, like I said last time, lacked this relationship with the local government chairman
who are there, their concentration is to serve the interests of the master who brought them in. Just like what we're seeing here today, you can see the situation where the governor of the state has his developmental plans and agendas, and the local government chairman has their own in different way. You know, the governor is commissioning projects. They are also doing their own thing differently. You know, the reason for the joint system in the local government, where you see this the government, the local government being part of the state government, is to make sure that their developmental plans works together. Local government chairman put more effort to disrupt the developmental activities of the governor.
So if this is what you're saying, how then this youth centers, how do you intend to communicate with your council chairman to see how we get the youths that will be got?
Because we don't even need the local government chairman to communicate to the youths. That's what it means.
So what about those that would feel that politics could be involved in the selection of youths that would engage in this process?
That is where the Commissioner for Youth is doing a big mistake. You don't need those local government chairmen to get the youths engaged. The youths are there. The CDC chairman, call the CDC chairman in Rivers State today to produce the 60 youths in each of their communities. See them.
So how would you go about picking the 60 youths? If, for instance, you were asked...
In fact, we have more democratic way of picking it from the city than the chairman, because the chairman would do it politically, because they will now go and select their loyalists. But when you allow the city chairman to do it, they will go to community and call for community meetings, and the communities will select according to the families how it is, and they will share it accordingly. And you see it come out without a complaint. You see the numbers, and they will come out without issues or complaints. But when you allow the local government chairman, they will not begin to. This one is the one that used to fight for post my pictures in Facebook. This is the one that used to circulate my.
So they wouldn't do it according to compound or family.
They would not. They don't even know about it, and they will not. They don't consider it. So, but when they allow the CDC chairman, they will look at the compound family by family and be able to select these youths. And you know, the selection will be, in fact, the people will feel it more.
What about situations where, I mean, the CDC chairmen have affiliations with the council chairmen and political leanings? Because, I mean, the last time I had you here, sometime earlier this year or last year, we had these talks, and you agreed to the fact that, yes,
it does happen.
It happens, yes. And where the CDC, the council chairman would, know how to relate with the community leaders and all to get a certain individual or person that he feels he wants to work for him. And that person basically just serves the interests of the council chairman and nothing else. Yeah. So in those situations, even though the CDC chairman is brought in to say, okay, let's look at how we pick the youths from these communities, do you think it will be done fairly?
Yeah, like I told you that day, it does happen. But the fact is that there are instances where these people can serve the interests of their master, like the local government chairman, to a point. You understand? They can serve the interest to a certain point. Like there are some things you want to do, the community will resist it. So the communities resist them. Like you can come and select, and they will be invited to attend for the program without the notice of the communities. But there is some things you want to carry out with instruction from the local government chairman without relating to the communities, and they will resist it. But that did not deter the fact that they can sit down in the office of the local government chairman and write out names and say these are the names we want to send and forward it.
Right. And one more question before I go back to the phone lines. Now, in my growing up, I didn't participate in skill acquisitions or all these government programs. Yeah, I tell you. I was born in Rivers State, but then I grew up largely in Delta State. But there was one thing that was very interesting. We had companies, we had factories, we had these things then in Delta State. Now it's not much of the story. It's quite different. But then late 80s, early 90s, we had those. So it was a case of when I need something and my father was not around or my mother was not around, I could just go to one popular, I don't want to mention the detergent at the time. We go to the factory and then we just go and follow and offload some cartons, and then they are paying you for how many you offload, or slippers factory, and you go there and you're doing this and then you make some money. We didn't have to go for one skill empowerment. Now, having that kind of a system in place, yes, we understand that skill acquisition is important. Nobody would say it isn't. It is. But having that system in place where you can have all of this and allow then the youths now to, go, you have there are various avenues you can take advantage of. Would you, when you look at that and look at just training the youths, which would you say for you would make a lot more sense?
When you are going there to offload those things, you are not learning anything. There's no skill you are getting there. We are just going there to go and look for money. That's what it means. You're just going there to go and look for pocket money. But when you engage youth in a particular training, that goes inside him. That becomes part of him. Definitely, it might be the dream of that particular youth, and he will use it passionately to advance his life, to advance his community, to make impact in his family. You understand? So there are things like when you go to more developed countries, they do not look much more on the paper certificate. They look much more on the training you have, the skill you have. That's the most important thing. And that is where this government, I think, is getting towards. If we'll be able to...
So you don't think if we have these factories and all of these businesses, like some level of industrialization in those local governments and communities, it's also going to be something that would help the youth largely?
Yeah, it is.
Having that on the side while they learn their skills.
For now, we do not have them. In my own local government, there's no single factory. You understand? And the local government chairman we've been having from time to time has never thought towards that. You know, a local government chairman can intentionally use 3 years master plan to develop a serious farming agricultural sector. You understand? Even if you want to invest in fish farming, you can do that. You want to invest in whatever crop, you can do that and develop it in large and import equipment. You can do that. This money you are using to build Corpus Lodge, you are using to build the DSS Lodge, you are using to build things that are necessary, that the community don't need. And that is why if you watch those buildings, bet me today, after the next 1 year, you will not see one single roof in that. The youth you have kept hunger will go back to these buildings and deroof them and sell off the villages. That's what happened. You cannot consistently keep the youth in abject poverty and expect that they will not come back violent.
All right, let's open the phone lines quickly. Take a few questions and calls. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007. If there's anything we can learn from the past, is that there's no training that government will bring that would adequately keep or sustain a person for the length for the duration upon which they make money that will be sufficient for them. In this sense, I mean, we've seen, for instance, the amnesty program. We could give you starter pack, give you something and all of that. And after that, we are done. What happens next now is that individual cannot go back to government and say, yeah, I've not eaten today.
Yes.
So perhaps it makes a lot of sense if while we're training the youth, we have some of these avenues where, like you said, when I went to those factories, I went to go and look for money. While you're chasing a dream, you need to eat. So that's where a lot of people then have the argument that, okay, it's fine, but can we also look at perhaps, industrialization in different areas and have these things on ground? Let's open the phone line. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, then get straight to your question or contribution. Nigeria Info, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lisa.
Go ahead.
Let me just put it to the two of you on the video. You are all wrong. Very wrong. You're not getting it right. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, I went to fix my car.
Can you please turn down the volume of your radio set, and then so we can hear you clearly?
Yesterday, I went to fix my car, and I saw two little boys. My guess is that these boys are between the age of 9 and 10. They were temporarily a door for painting. I was worried. I now asked two of them, aren't you in the school? They said, they are in the school, but at the end of the school, we go to learn our hands. And they are learning. Before you know, they are weather. They are still sisters. Cannot empower the people and tell them to stay. Like you guys are saying, they will, even if you give them all the necessary things for them to do play well, and they will sell it all because the appetite is not there. And so the bone of contention is that parents, every one of us will give him an orientation to see where is your child heading to. Does he want to be a welder? Does he want to be a business person? Does he want to be a painter or a carpenter or mechanic? You tell him to that area, an electrician. So he has a handwork. Why is the government going to empower the youth so that they can? They will not. How many of them are considered in doing that? They will tell us all those things. So I take this. So somebody is the chairman of the local government or whatever, or the PDC, you gather his people and find out what the people want. Do you want to do this? This is where we're going to not even training them by the government fund. That's my take. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's wonderful. And clearly, it's almost the same thing that we're also saying, even though he said we're wrong. It's the same thing, because then what we're pointing out now is, if we do not have a place where you learn the skill and then you can go utilize it, then there's a problem. So the various sectors in the state economically needs to be developed so that when people have their interest in any area, there's a market for you. Nigeria Info, good morning.
Good morning, Kenny Andrew.
Yeah, go on, please.
Yes, it's Wisdom on the line.
Go on, Wisdom.
Please, I want to ask your guest.
Yes.
For like the youth that is not living in the village, that is not maybe living in their world, how can they come into the picture to have access to the training ground, and how can we have the contact of those people who are in charge of the training? That's my question to your guest. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. George is next from Buguma. We're definitely going. Yes, George, go on.
Yes, let me greet your guest also. Good morning.
Good morning.
You see, the governor to me has done exceedingly well.
Yes.
But I am very passionate in the area of empowering the youth. And what your guest is saying there, I think, is something different from what we used to know. See, social infrastructure and human capital development should be invoked. You understand? You can see that people are now trying to get tired of its consistent road flag up and commissioning of road projects, and they are saying that the youth, the governor should make a mark where his government will be remembered as one government that focus so much on the youth of Rivers State. Even non-indigenous youth in Rivers State should be carried along. And looking at what your guest is elaborating in the studio there, you can see that if we have something like that, such an institution where youth will be engaged, you can see some. In fact, they should also create a BT department, building technology. You don't need to go to higher institution before you acquire.
All right, George, thank you, but we're already out of time. Mr. Nwosu, you came in really late, so unfortunately we couldn't do too much. But it's fantastic to hear that what people think. Yes. Let's look at an example with what we have in the States. If you go to school, while you're in school, even there are various avenues. You want to go into fashion, the industry is big. Yeah. You want to go into tech, the industry is big. You want to go into politics, it's big. You want to go into agriculture, it's big. Now, can we not have situations in Rivers State where the various sectors we see good environment, good government investment, so people can decide when they learn a skill where they want to apply their trade. Thank you, Mr. Nwosu, for coming. We have to go now. A commercial comes next.
Are you ready? The ID